Hello, my name is Max Marquardt, and I'm presenting the Asian Invasion News Report. Today, we will be talking with President Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, and Woodrow Wilson, and discuss their motivations and their legacy. Please enjoy. Hello, I'm here with President Theodore Roosevelt. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you, young man.
You supported the fair opportunity for everyone. How does your square deal affect American citizens, in your opinion?
My square deal policy allowed equal opportunity for all walks of life, including the rich and the poor. I wanted to continue McKinley's policies and reforms for the people. I thought something needed to be done to prevent industry to merge at such a high rate. I had to call upon the people to continue reshaping the industry and the welfare of the workers. I enjoyed my nickname, the Trust Buster, but I have to leave the honest ones alone. In 1903, the Expedition Act made antitrust causes take precedence in circuit courts around the nation. I also gave the Department of Commerce and the Labor the authority to look into interstate commerce. I am here to change the government and work for the people who elected me.
In 1902, you helped the miners instead of the owners. You were one of the first elected officials to consider helping the workers. What motivated you to support the strike and try to end it through arbitration?
I became president to reform our country. I understood the workers' regrets due to the low wages and poor working conditions, and a chance to be laid off at random. I wanted to be an arbitrator between the owners and the miners. Coal is the supply of heat and power for our homes and businesses. If winter struck while the U.S. did not have any heat, I knew people would starve and die in the cold. Since the owners did not comply with my wishes, I had to use my big stick. I took over all the mines and forced the operators to agree with the miners. I showed America, the big business, and I are not a force to be reckoned with.
You presented radical new reform ideas to Congress to improve American workers and consumers. What did you do and what did you accomplish in your quest?
I was motivated to change America because I believe I need to use my power to help the people, not my own personal agenda. I'm a conservationist and a progressive reformer. My Conservations Act included the new Land Act of 1902 and the Forest Reserve Act. I increased the ICC power to enforce rates and ideal prices. I abolished the biased Congress members by stopping the free train pass. The Meat Inspection Act, the Pure Food and Drug Act, was signed into law to protect American consumers from harmful wastes and goods. Although some people do not totally trust the government, I try to increase the belief that we, the federal government, are changing our old habits. I want to preserve the beauty of the outdoors for our future generations. As I said before, I stand on moving forward and creating an equal, free enterprise industry. Although Congress was not ready for rapid changes, we, the people, have to start somewhere.
Hello, I'm here with President William Howard Taft. Pleasure to meet you, sir. While Roosevelt chose to take on trust first, you chose to address tariffs. What were your goals and/or failures while addressing tariffs in your outlook?
I began my term addressing the tariff crisis. Many people blame the high cost of living on tariff rates. Although it does increase the price of living, I blame the daily tariff of 1897. It made prices advance much more rapidly than the wages of an average worker. Tariffs encouraged and promoted new monopolies and ruled the industry. I stepped in too late to stop the disagreement in the House of Representatives. The Congress-Payne-Aldrich tariff allowed for corporation tax flexibility, a fair rate increase on materials, and tariff commissions. Tariffs were meant to protect domestic goods, but they slowed down progress.
Why did you allow Richard Bollinger, Secretary of Interior, open up the land? Why did you allow Richard Bollinger, Secretary of Interior, open up the conservation land to the public? Do you regret your decision?
I allowed Richard Bollinger to open up land set aside in Roosevelt's administration. I felt as if the land was being wasted and could become more productive. Gifford Pinchot decided to slander the good name of Bollinger. I could not allow insults and public disgrace ruin my administration. I fired Pinchot because he accused Bollinger of fraud and insubordination. I did not understand why the public disliked my swift justice. I sometimes regret my decision, but I tried to act in the best interest of the nation.
At the end of your term, you had little success in Roosevelt. Your predecessor slowly turned from friend to foe due to your lack of action to the reform movement. What would you highlight as an accomplishment and failure?
My failures included my loss of friendship with Teddy. I was a too reluctant president. I disregarded the people and allowed Congress to step on me. I was afraid that the old guard and insurgents would split the Republican Party in half. My dream was to become the Supreme Court Chief Justice, but my wife pushed towards my own presidential campaign. My successes were the support of the 16th and the 17th Amendment, the admittance of New Mexico and Arizona to the Union, and I prosecuted twice as many antitrust cases in one term than Roosevelt did in 7 years.
Hello, I'm here with President Woodrow Wilson. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
You are one of the most inexperienced presidents, but you led the country to glory. What would you consider as a help that led you in your presidency?
I was the president of Princeton University for 10 years, first president to receive a doctoral degree, and I led the great state of New Jersey as the governor. A good friend, William Jennings Bryan, pushed for my nomination as the prime Democratic candidate in the 1912 election. I do oppose women's rights and blacks because I believe our nation is not ready for dramatic change. My southern background has some extreme conservative ideals and bias against diverse nationalities. I added Jim Crow laws to our legislature and enforced the new rules. I used my persuading speeches to argue and or defend my reform ideas.
What was the purpose of the Underwood Tariff Act? Why did you choose to reform banking?
I decided to hand-deliver the Underwood Tariff Act to Congress. I felt my presence would impact the way Congress voted. I was the only person capable of providing full detail. The new Tariff Act would significantly reduce rates on prices of foreign goods. The income tax would, as I predicted, become the new source of revenue for the federal government. Banks needed to be supported if another panic were to occur again. The Audit Commission Act was allowed to evaluate our financial system, and they uncovered many shocking details. The committee found out that they lacked stability, had inflexible currency, no central control center, and the capital market was pinpointed in Wall Street instead of being spread out in D.C. I came up with the Federal Reserve Act to encounter the problems plaguing our nation's economy.
Roosevelt was against trust and monopolies. Nevertheless, you followed in his footsteps to reform the private sector. What do you consider as your own accomplishments?
I established the Federal Trade Commission Act to investigate and regulate business practices. They are given the power to stop and seize companies that were breaking the law. The Clayton Antitrust Act, backed by Congress, stopped price cutting and interlocking directorates. The act allowed for peaceful boycotts and refusal to consume goods legally. Federal farm loan banks provided support for agricultural business. I support the Keating-Owen Child Labor Act, which prohibits kids under the age of 14 to be working in factories. I started the 8-hour railroad working day in the Adamson Act. My Federal Highway Act allowed farmers to transport goods faster than before. I used my skills to reform the nation for the better.